welcome to Mindleapic, your sanctuary for gentle tales that guide you softly into sleep. Tonight, we wander into the medieval world, a time of stone castles, quiet villages, and flickering hearths. We'll explore the lives of women, peasants tilling fields, townswomen trading cloth, and noble ladies in tower chambers, whose daily tasks, faith, and dreams shaped an era of knights and kings. If this story soothes your heart, please like the video, subscribe to Mindleapic, and leave a comment with the historical eras you'd love to hear next. Now, settle in, close your eyes, and let the whispers of the medieval world carry you to rest. The medieval world, stretching from the 5th to the 15th century, was a tapestry of hardship and hope. Villages of timber and thatch huddled beside rivers, their fields green with barley or rye. Castles loomed on hills, their stone walls guarding lords and ladies. Towns bustled with markets, where merchants sold wool or iron under wooden stalls. Most people were peasants, bound to the land, while others were artisans, clergy, or nobles, their lives tied to the rhythm of seasons and the church's bells. Picture a peasant woman waking in a village hut, the air cool with dawn's mist. Her home is simple: mud walls, a straw mattress, a hearth of clay. She rises to stir embers, boiling oats for porridge, the scent filling the small room. Her family eats quickly, bread with cheese or herbs, washed down with weak ale, safer than stream water. Her husband is already in the fields, guiding a wooden plow through heavy soil to plant wheat. She joins him later, weeding or shearing sheep, her woolen kirtle warm under the sun's slow climb. Her work is endless. She tends a garden by the hut, growing cabbage, leeks, or thyme, vital for lean winters. Hens cluck in the yard, and she gathers their eggs, saving some for the Lord's taxes. She milks a cow, her wooden bucket filling slowly, the cream churned into butter with a wooden paddle. By firelight, she spins wool into thread, her fingers twisting fibers, weaving cloth for cloaks or trade. At night, she mends kirtles with a bone needle, the hearth's glow casting soft shadows on the wall. Children are her constant care. A mother might have 6 or more, though many die young from fever or hunger. She carries her youngest in a sling while working, teaching older ones to fetch water from the well or feed pigs. Childbirth is perilous, with midwives using herbs like lavender or honey to ease pain. But infections linger. Women pray to Saint Margaret, patron of childbirth, placing wax candles in their huts. The river's bounty, fish or reeds, adds to meals, but poor diets weaken many, making illness a quiet shadow. In medieval towns, life hums with trade. A townswoman lives in a timber house, its upper floor cramped but lively. She helps her husband, perhaps a weaver, threading looms with wool dyed blue with woad. Some women sell bread or ale at market, their stalls shaded by cloth awnings. They barter for silver pennies or spices, their voices blending in the market's chatter. Literacy is rare, but some learn to tally coins, scratching marks on wax tablets by candlelight, their work fueling the town's pulse. Noble women live in stone castles or manors, their halls warmed by tapestries and fires. A lady wakes to servants preparing her meal, bread, cheese, and watered wine. She oversees the household, checking grain stores or ordering wool from spinners. Her education, taught by nuns or tutors, includes reading Latin or embroidery, skills for managing estates. She wears fine wool gowns, dyed green or red, and silver brooches. Her role is to host feasts, binding alliances, or pray for her lord's success, her voice soft in a private chapel. The king's court is a world of splendor and intrigue. Noble ladies like Eleanor of Aquitaine wielded influence, their words shaping alliances. A lady might manage lands while her lord fights, her orders sealed on parchment. Marriage was political, but love could grow. With prayers to Saint Valentine for harmony, court life glittered. Feasts with venison or music from lutes. But danger lurked, with rivals plotting for power. Religion touched all. Peasant women prayed to the Virgin Mary, lighting candles in their huts. Townswomen joined church processions, their woolen cloaks swaying as they offered bread to Saint Anne. Noble women funded chapels, their names carved in stone. Nuns in convents prayed for souls, their lives bound to faith. The church's bells rang daily, guiding work, prayer, and rest. The medieval world held mysteries. Tales of knights, dragons, or holy relics filled fireside stories. Women prepared offerings for the dead, believing in heaven or purgatory. Their lives, from village to castle, were steeped in these wonders, their hands weaving a legacy of endurance. Daily joys softened their toil. A peasant woman shared ale with neighbors under an oak. A townswoman laughed at market, her stall bustling. A noble lady played a harp, her notes drifting through a hall. These moments, small but warm, balanced their struggles, the river's flow a steady backdrop. Challenges were many. Famine starved fields. Plagues swept towns and wars threatened nobles. Yet women endured, their resilience a quiet force. As the firelight fades, picture the woman by her hearth. Her day done, her hands still. Let the medieval world's whispers cradle you into sleep. The river flows gently through a medieval village, its waters a soft murmur under a twilight sky. Inside a thatched hut, a woman adjusts a linen veil, her heart light as she prepares for her betrothal. In a bustling town market, another woman shares a loaf of rye bread with her husband, their smiles warm in the glow of a candle. In a stone castle, a noble woman kneels in a chapel, her hands offering a candle to Saint Valentine for her marriage's peace. Love and marriage in the medieval world were woven with duty, faith, and quiet moments of tenderness, shaping women's lives across villages, towns, and castles. In this second part, we explore how women, peasants, townswomen, and noble ladies found love and built families in a time of knights and manners. Let the soothing rhythm of their stories carry you into a peaceful sleep. In medieval villages, marriage was a bond of survival, often arranged by families. A peasant girl, around 16, was betrothed to a farmer's son from a nearby field. The agreement was simple, sealed with a handshake and a wooden ring, carved with a cross. Her dowry was modest, a sack of barley, a woven blanket, or a pair of hens, given to start the new household. The wedding was held in the village church, a small stone building with a straw roof. Neighbors shared ale and bread, their voices soft under an oak tree. The couple's new life blessed by a priest's prayer. Once married, a peasant woman worked beside her husband. They plowed fields together, sowing rye or oats in the river's fertile soil, their hands muddy from dawn to dusk. At home, she baked bread in a clay oven, the scent of barley filling their hut. Their home was small, mud walls, a straw mattress, a hearth for warmth, but it was theirs. Love was shown in quiet acts. Her sewing his cloak with a bone needle, him bringing her a bundle of wild thyme from the meadow. At night they sat by the fire, sipping weak ale, the river's breeze drifting through a wooden shutter. Children were the heart of marriage. A peasant woman bore many, often 7 or 8, though illness or hunger took some. Childbirth happened on a straw mat, with a midwife chanting prayers and using lavender to ease pain. Infections were common, and women lit candles to St. Margaret, their wax glowing by the hearth. Babies were wrapped in wool, carried in slings while mothers weeded fields. Older children helped, fetching water from the stream or tending goats, learning the family's rhythm by watching their parents' steady hands. In medieval towns, marriage was practical but could spark affection. A townswoman, perhaps a weaver's daughter, married a man met at market or church, their match arranged by kin. He might gift her a woven shawl or a clay cup, symbols of their bond. They lived in a timber house, its upper room cramped but lively, with a small hearth for cooking. She helped him weave cloth or sell ale, their hands working in sync, dyeing wool or pouring drinks. Love grew in small moments, her saving pennies for spices, him carving her name on a wooden beam. Townswomen had some legal rights in marriage. Medieval law, rooted in church codes, let women keep their dowry, cloth, coins, or tools, separate from their husbands' goods. They could seek annulments through church courts, though this was rare, citing neglect or cruelty. A woman might appeal to a priest, her case written on parchment, to claim support like a share of wool. Divorce was nearly impossible, but widows could remarry. Their dowry returned. These rights gave townswomen strength, their steps confident in the market's hum. Noble women's marriages were grand, tied to power and land. A lady was betrothed by 14, often to a knight or lord, to forge alliances. Her dowry was vast, land, silver, or furs, presented at a feast with roasted venison and lute music. The wedding was held in a castle chapel, her gown of fine wool dyed crimson, a silver veil pinned with pearls. She moved to her husband's manor, her role to bear heirs and host banquets, her charm binding vassals to her lord. Love could bloom, but duty ruled, her life shaped by the king's court. A noblewoman managed a castle's household. She oversaw servants baking bread, spinning wool, or tending herb gardens, her orders given in a tapestried hall. Her children were raised by nurses, but she taught them manners or prayers, preparing sons for knighthood and daughters for marriage. Childbirth was safer with skilled midwives and better food. Wine, meat, or figs, but still risky. She prayed to Saint Anne, offering candles in a private chapel, her heart seeking peace for her family's future. In the king's court, marriage was a chessboard of power. Noble ladies like Eleanor of Aquitaine married to secure kingdoms, their vows sealed with treaties. A lady might advise her lord, whispering strategies during feasts, her words shaping alliances. Love was rare but possible. Tomb carvings show couples hand in hand, yet intrigue loomed, with rivals eyeing land or favor. She prayed to Saint Valentine, her silver cross gleaming, hoping to protect her children's inheritance. Family life brought warmth. A peasant family shared stories by the hearth, children playing with wooden horses. A town family ate in their shop's loft, the river's breeze soft as they laughed. A noble family gathered in a hall, the lady reading tales of knights, her voice drifting. Festivals like Christmas united families, with women baking spiced bread and singing, their joy a fleeting escape from toil. Challenges tested love. Famine left fields empty, forcing couples to share meager porridge. Disease swept towns with mothers mourning lost children. Noble women faced court plots, their marriages strained by ambition. Yet women endured. A peasant wife cooked through hunger, a townswoman rebuilt after loss. A lady secured allies with grace. Their love, woven with faith, anchored their homes. Faith shaped marriage. Women honored the Virgin Mary, lighting candles for harmony. Churches blessed unions, their bells ringing at dawn. Infidelity was punished by priests, but loyalty was praised. Carved on tombs, love was a quiet strength, shown in a husband's gift of a comb or a wife's woven cloak. As the night deepens, picture the woman adjusting her veil, her ring carved, her day done. The market grows quiet, the castle's fires dim. Her love, steady and warm, holds her world together. Let this image cradle you, guiding you into sleep as we prepare for the next part of our tale. The river murmurs softly through a medieval village, its waters a gentle hum under a dawn sky tinged with gold. Inside a thatched hut, a woman kneads rye dough by a clay hearth, her hands steady as the scent of bread rises. In a bustling town market, another woman arranges woolen cloth on a wooden stall, her fingers smoothing the folds under a cloth awning. In a stone castle, a noblewoman checks a loom's fine threads, her voice soft as she guides her maids. Work was the heartbeat of life for women in the medieval world, their hands shaping homes, markets, and manners with quiet endurance. In this third part, we explore how women, peasants, townswomen, and noble ladies labored through their days, their tasks weaving the fabric of an era of nights and fields. Let the soothing rhythm of their efforts lull you into a peaceful sleep. For peasant women, work was tied to the land and seasons. They woke before sunrise, the air cool in their mud-walled huts with straw roofs. A woman stirred embers to boil oats, her wooden spoon scraping a clay pot, preparing porridge for her family. Breakfast was simple, bread with cheese or dried apples, shared on a wooden bench before the day's toil. She joined her husband in the fields, planting barley or rye with a wooden hoe, her woolen kirtle damp with morning dew. Her hands weeded rows or harvested wheat, the sickle's rhythm steady under the sun. Beyond fields, she tended a small garden by the hut, growing cabbage, onions, or sage for meals or medicine. Hens clucked in the yard, and she collected eggs, saving some for the Lord's manor as tax. She milked a cow, her bucket filling slowly, churning cream into butter by firelight. Spinning was endless. She twirled wool into thread with a drop spindle, her fingers nimble as she sat by the hearth. The thread became cloth on a wooden loom, woven for cloaks or market trade, her work warming her family through winter's chill. Laundry was another task. She scrubbed kirtles in the river with ash soap, her hands red from cold water, then spread them on stones to dry. She mended clothes with a bone needle, patching holes under a rushlight's glow. When harvest season came, she gathered apples or sheared sheep, her basket heavy with wool for spinning. These tasks, learned from her mother, were her life's rhythm, each day blending into the next with quiet purpose. In medieval towns, work buzzed with trade. A townswoman lived in a timber house, its upper room cramped but warm. She helped her husband, perhaps a baker, kneading dough for rye loaves. Her hands dusted with flour as the oven glowed. Some women brewed ale, stirring barley mash in wooden vats, selling it to tavern keepers for silver pennies. Others wove cloth or sewed tunics, dyeing wool with woad for blue or madder for red. Their stalls lively in the market's hum. Townswomen often ran their own trades. A woman might sell eggs or cheese at market, her wooden scales balancing goods under a cloth awning. She bartered for salt or iron, her voice steady in the crowd's chatter. Some worked as servants in wealthy homes, polishing pewter or sweeping floors. Others were midwives, delivering babies in cramped lofts, their hands skilled with herbs like chamomile. Literacy was rare, but many learned to count coins, marking tallies on wax tablets by candlelight to track sales. Noble women's work was less physical but carried weight. They lived in stone castles, their halls lined with tapestries. A lady oversaw the manor's household, checking grain stores or ordering wool from weavers. Her orders, given in a firelit chamber, ensured food for winter or cloth for nights. When her lord was away, she managed lands, collecting taxes in barley or wine. Her decisions, written on parchment with a quill, were sealed with a wax ring. Her authority unquestioned by tenants or serfs. Some noble women served in convents, copying prayers onto vellum or tending herb gardens for the poor. Others embroidered altar cloths, their needles threading gold for church chapels. Their work, blending faith and duty, supported the manor's prosperity. Ladies like Eleanor of Aquitaine oversaw vast estates, their letters directing stewards across provinces. Their labor, though privileged, was vital, their hands guiding the threads of power. Work followed the seasons. Spring meant sowing seeds, with peasant women in fields under soft rain. Summer brought weeding, their hands pulling nettles in the heat. Autumn harvests filled baskets with apples or rye, while winter was for spinning by the hearth, the snow outside muffling the world. Townswomen thrived in summer markets, their stalls busy but slowed in winter, mending or brewing indoors. Noble women planned Christmas feasts, their halls glowing with candles and spiced wine. Tools were simple but essential. Peasant women used wooden hoes, clay pots, or bone needles, their surfaces worn smooth. Townswomen had scales for trade or iron shears for cloth. Noble women used quills and wax seals, their parchment orders binding manors. These tools, passed from mother to daughter, tied women to their tasks, their hands steady with purpose. Health shaped their labor. Poor diets, bread and ale, left peasant women weary, their bodies strained by fieldwork or childbirth. Townswomen faced crowded streets, risking fever or falls. Noble women, with better food like meat or figs, still tired from managing estates, all used herbs, mint for aches, sage for wounds, their knowledge a quiet strength. Challenges were constant. Famine emptied fields, taxes took harvests, and town fires burned stalls. Noble women faced disputes over land, their authority tested, yet resilience shone. A peasant woman replanted after drought. A townswoman rebuilt her shop. A lady, settled tenant, quarrels with calm words. Their work, though heavy, built the medieval world's foundation. As the night settles, picture the woman by her hearth, her dough kneaded, her hands resting. The market grows quiet. The castle's fires dim. Her labor, steady and vital, holds her world together. Let this image cradle you, guiding you into sleep as we prepare for the next part of our tale. The river flows gently through a medieval village, its waters a soft whisper under a starlit sky. Inside a thatched hut, a woman lights a wax candle before a wooden cross, her hands offering a pinch of dried herbs to the Virgin Mary. In a bustling town square, another woman walks to a stone church, her woolen cloak swaying as she carries bread for Saint Anne. In a castle's private chapel, a noble woman kneels on a velvet cushion, her prayers for her family's safety soft in the candlelight. Religion was the soul of the medieval world, guiding women through faith, rituals, and quiet devotion in an era of knights and manners. In this fourth part, we explore how women, peasants, townswomen, and noble ladies wove spirituality into their lives, seeking grace from God and saints. Let the soothing rhythm of their worship lull you into a peaceful sleep. For peasant women, faith was a quiet refuge in their toilsome lives. Each morning they prayed in their huts, a wooden cross or a clay figure of the Virgin Mary on a shelf by the hearth. A woman knelt on a straw mat, offering herbs or a crumb of bread, asking for health or a good harvest. Her whispers, soft as the river's flow, sought protection from famine or fever. At night she lit a rushlight, its flicker casting shadows on the cross, her prayers a gentle shield for her sleeping children. Village life revolved around the church, a stone building with a bell that rang at dawn. Women gathered there on Sundays, their kirtles patched but clean. To hear Mass in Latin they barely understood. They brought offerings, eggs, wool, or a candle, laid at the altar for Saint Margaret, patron of mothers. Festivals like Easter united them, with women baking spiced bread and singing hymns under an oak tree, their voices blending in the soft spring light. These moments, though simple, lifted their hearts, their faith a steady anchor. In towns, religion was grander, centered on stone churches with stained glass. A townswoman visited the church of St. Anne, its wooden pews worn smooth, to offer a loaf or a silver penny. She prayed for her children's safety or her shop's success, her woolen cloak brushing the stone floor. Some women served as lay sisters, sweeping church steps or lighting candles for vespers, their hands steady in the incense-filled air. Their prayers, for love or healing, mingled with the town's hum, their faith a thread in the market's bustle. Townswomen joined religious guilds, groups devoted to saints like St. Catherine. They pooled pennies to buy wax for church candles or bread for the poor, their meetings held in a tavern's quiet corner. Festivals like Corpus Christi brought processions, with women carrying crosses or rose garlands through cobbled streets, their songs rising under torchlight. They wore charms, wooden crosses or saint medallions, tucked under tunics, believing they warded off illness or evil spirits. Noble women worshipped with elegance in castle chapels, their walls hung with tapestries of angels. A lady offered prayers to the Virgin Mary, lighting beeswax candles that glowed softly on a silver altar. Her devotion was personal, her velvet gown rustling as she knelt, seeking grace for her Lord's battles or her children's futures. Some served as patrons, funding stone chapels or gifting golden chalices to monasteries, their names carved in gratitude. Their faith, blending duty and piety, was a cornerstone of their power. Some noble women joined convents, taking vows as nuns. They lived in stone cloisters, copying prayers onto vellum with quills, or tending herb gardens for the sick. Their days were filled with chants, their voices echoing in vaulted halls, their lives bound to God. Women like Hildegard of Bingen wrote hymns or visions, their words preserved on parchment, their wisdom guiding others. Their work, though secluded, rippled through the medieval world, their faith a quiet legacy. The afterlife was a shared hope. Medieval women believed in heaven, purgatory, or hell, their souls judged by God. They prepared offerings for the dead, bread, ale, or candles, left at graves during All Souls' Day. Peasant women buried kin in village churchyards, their graves marked with wooden crosses. Townswomen joined processions to cemeteries, leaving rosemary sprigs by stone markers. Noble women built grand tombs, their effigies carved in limestone, praying for eternal rest in the chancel's glow. Faith brought challenges. Churches demanded tithes, grain or wool, straining peasant budgets. A woman might give her last egg, trusting St. Anne's blessing. Priests, mostly men, held power, and women's roles were limited, though respected. Heretical movements, like the Cathars, drew suspicion, yet some women joined, seeking deeper faith. A peasant woman prayed through famine. A townswoman offered bread during plague. A lady funded a chapel to secure her son's soul. Daily rituals grounded women. A peasant woman lit a candle at dawn, her prayer soft in the hut's quiet. A townswoman paused at a church, her offering small but sincere. A noblewoman chanted in her chapel, her voice steady. Festivals like Christmas brought women together, baking honeyed bread or singing, their joy a warm escape. Seasons shaped worship. Spring planting sparked prayers for growth. Autumn harvests brought offerings of apples. Winter evenings were for hearth prayers. Summer feasts for dances to saints. These cycles, tied to the river, made faith a living rhythm, as steady as breath. As the night grows still, picture the woman by her cross, her candle lit, her prayer fading into silence. The church bells quiet. The castle chapel dims. Her faith, gentle but strong, holds her world steady. Let this image cradle you, guiding you into sleep as we prepare for the next part of our tale. The river flows softly through a medieval village, its waters a gentle hum under a moonlit sky. Inside a thatched hut, a woman crushes lavender in a wooden mortar, her hands steady as she prepares a salve for her child's fever. In a bustling town market, another woman wraps a linen bandage around a neighbor's arm, her touch calm beside a wooden stall. In a stone castle's chamber, a noble woman sips a tonic of honey and sage, her breath easing in the candlelight. Health was a fragile thread in the medieval world, where women faced illness, injury, and childbirth with limited tools but deep care. In this fifth part, we explore how women, peasants, townswomen, and noble ladies tended their families and themselves, blending herbs, faith, and resilience. Let the soothing rhythm of their healing guide you into a peaceful sleep. For peasant women, health was frail, shaped by their grueling lives. Their diet was plain: rye bread, pottage of oats or leeks, and weak ale, with rare treats like apples or cheese. This meager fare left them tired, especially during pregnancy or nursing. Long days in fields, sowing barley or shearing sheep, strained their hands and backs. Cuts from sickles or burns from hearths were common, and river water, often muddy, spread fevers. Plagues, like the Black Death of 1348, ravaged villages, with women nursing the sick, their own strength fading under the weight of loss. Childbirth was a great peril. Peasant women gave birth on straw mats in their huts, aided by midwives who used prayers and herbs like chamomile to ease labor. Complications, bleeding, or breech births were often fatal, with no physicians nearby. Women lit wax candles to St. Margaret, their glow a quiet plea for safety. Many bore 6 or more children, but half might die young from hunger or disease. Mothers returned to work soon after, carrying infants in woolen slings while weeding fields, their bodies weary but enduring. Healing relied on tradition and nature. Peasant women grew sage, mint, or yarrow in small garden patches by their huts, using them for remedies passed down by mothers. Mint tea soothed stomachs, yarrow poultices stopped bleeding, and honey healed burns. A woman might tie a sprig of rosemary to a child's wrist, believing it warded off fever. Village healers, often older women, were respected, mixing salves or chanting prayers over the sick. Their knowledge, though simple, was vital, their hands steady by firelight. In medieval towns, health challenges grew with crowds. Timber houses, packed tightly, bred filth and fever. Townswomen ate slightly better: bread, fish, or peas. But malnutrition lingered. They worked long hours, weaving cloth or selling ale, their feet sore on cobbled streets. Market accidents, like cuts from knives or falls from carts, were frequent. Plagues swept through, and women cared for the sick, boiling herbs or burning lavender to purify air, their courage a quiet light in dark times. Townswomen served as healers, too. Midwives delivered babies in cramped lofts, their hands quick with linen cloths or fennel tonics. Some women, trained by mothers, treated fevers or sprains, their skills noted in church records. Male physicians, rare and costly, used Latin texts, but women's knowledge was trusted for childbirth or minor ailments. A market woman sold chamomile or nettle at her stall, her advice sought by neighbors, her voice soft in the market's hum. Noble women had better health but faced similar risks. Their diets, venison, wine, or figs, strengthened them, but childbirth remained dangerous. They summoned midwives or monks who used bronze tools or prayers, yet losses were common. A lady sipped rosewater tonics in her chamber, her servants fanning her in summer's heat. She bathed in wooden tubs with lavender oil, her skin cared for with costly salves. Her health, though privileged, was fragile. Her prayers to Saint Anne whispered for strength. Monasteries were centers of healing. Nuns, often noble, grew herbs like thyme or rue in cloister gardens, their salves easing the poor's ailments. They copied medical texts on vellum, blending Greek knowledge with local cures. Women like Hildegard of Bingen wrote of herbs and humors, their parchment scrolls guiding healers. They prayed over the sick, offering holy water or relics, their faith a balm. Noble women funded these efforts, their silver pennies buying medicines for villages. Hygiene was basic but vital. Peasant women washed in the river, using ash soap to scrub woolen kirtles or hair. Townswomen used public wells, carrying water in wooden buckets. Noble women bathed in castle tubs, scented with rose petals, their maids brushing their hair with bone combs. Monthly cycles were managed with linen cloths, washed and reused, though churches barred women during these times, citing ritual impurity. Teeth were cleaned with mint leaves or salt, but toothaches plagued many, especially peasants eating gritty bread. Mental health was misunderstood. Sadness or visions were seen as divine signs or sin. A woman might pray to Saint Dymphna, burning candles for calm, or share worries at the well. Her neighbors' chatter a comfort. Noble women, stressed by court life, sipped lavender tonics, their chambers quiet with harp music. Community was a healer, with women offering broth or prayers during illness, their bonds a soft strength. Seasons shaped health. Summer heat brought fevers. Winter chills sparked coughs. Women dried herbs in autumn, storing mint or sage for lean months. During plagues, they burned rosemary or wore cross charms, though these offered little shield. Faith was their guide. Prayers to Saint Sebastian, offerings at church altars, their hope steady despite fear. Daily care wove through life. A peasant woman stirred a sage remedy by firelight, her child asleep. A townswoman bandaged a wound at her stall, her hands gentle. A noblewoman sipped a tonic in her garden, roses blooming softly. These acts, small but vital, kept families whole. Challenges were many. Disease spread fast with no true cures. Childbirth stole lives, leaving grief. Healers faced blame if cures failed. Yet women endured. A peasant mother worked through fever. A townswoman tended plague victims. A lady funded monastery cures. Their care, rooted in love, shone bright. As the night deepens, picture the woman by her mortar, her salve ready, her hands resting. The market grows quiet. The castle's lamps dim. Her healing, gentle but strong, holds her world together. Let this image cradle you, guiding you into sleep as we prepare for the next part of our tale. The river flows gently through a medieval village, its waters a soft murmur under a velvet sky. Inside a thatched hut, a woman teaches her daughter to spin wool, her hands guiding the spindle's twirl by firelight. In a bustling town market, another woman shows her apprentice to tally ale sales, her fingers marking a wooden tally stick. In a stone castle's chamber, a noblewoman reads a Latin prayer on vellum, her voice soft in the candlelight. Education in the medieval world was rarely formal for women, but knowledge was shared through hands, words, and quiet lessons. In this sixth part, we explore how women, peasants, townswomen, and noble ladies gained skills and wisdom in an era of knights and fields. Let the soothing rhythm of their learning lull you into a peaceful sleep. For peasant women, education was practical, rooted in the needs of survival. From childhood, girls learned by watching their mothers. At 6, a girl fetched water from the river, her wooden bucket heavy, mimicking her mother's steady steps. By 10, she kneaded rye dough, her hands learning the clay oven's heat. She was taught to plant turnips, milk cows, or shear sheep. Each task a lesson passed without books. A mother showed her daughter to sew wool kirtles with a bone needle, or mix sage for a cough, her voice soft as the hearth's glow, her lessons woven into daily toil. Literacy was scarce among peasants. Parchment and quills were costly, reserved for monks or lords. The church taught that women needed faith and work, not letters. Yet some learned to count eggs or wool for market, using pebbles or notches on a stick. Storytelling was their classroom. By firelight, a woman told tales of King Arthur or St. George, her words weaving lessons of courage or piety. Children listened, their eyes heavy, learning the season's rhythm or the saints' names. These stories, passed through generations, were a peasant girl's history, rich with meaning. In medieval towns, education was tied to trade. A townswoman, perhaps a brewer's daughter, learned to stir barley mash or weigh cheese at market. She lived in a timber house, its loft warm with the scent of bread. Her mother taught her to dye wool with woad or tally pennies on a wooden board. Her hands quick in the market's hum. Some women learned simple letters, marking names or numbers on wax tablets for shop records. These skills, gained through work, gave them pride, their voices steady as they bartered for salt or cloth. Townswomen passed knowledge through apprenticeships. A seamstress took a young girl, showing her to stitch tunics with linen thread. A baker's wife taught her niece to knead dough, the oven's heat warming their hands. In merchant families, women learned basic sums, scratching tallies by candlelight to track ale or wool sales. While boys studied Latin in church schools, women's learning was practical, tied to home or trade. Records from towns like York show women signing contracts, their marks proof of their skill, their hands steady in the market's bustle. Noble women had the most access to education, though it served their roles. From childhood, they studied in castle chambers or convents, learning Latin to read prayers or manage households. A girl, perhaps 9, sat by a tapestry, copying psalms on vellum with a quill, her ink pot glowing in candlelight. She learned to embroider silk or play the lute, skills for hosting feasts or pleasing lords. Her lessons, taught by nuns or tutors, prepared her to oversee manners, her mind sharp as she checked grain ledgers or prayed to St. Anne. Convents were centers of learning for women. Nuns, often noble, studied scripture, copying gospels onto vellum with colorful inks. They learned herb lore, mixing thyme for salves, their gardens blooming with rue or lavender. Women like Hildegard of Bingen wrote music or visions. Their parchment scrolls shared across monasteries. Their knowledge, blending faith and skill, was vital. Their voices chanting hymns in stone cloisters. Their wisdom a quiet legacy in the medieval world. Education varied by region. In towns like Paris, noble girls studied French or poetry with tutors. In rural villages, women learned only farming or weaving, their skills tied to the land. Court ladies, like those under Eleanor of Aquitaine, read romances or wrote letters, their words shaping alliances. These differences shaped how women learned. From market tallies to Latin hymns, their knowledge a thread in their lives. Daily learning was woven into tasks. A peasant girl watched her mother churn butter, learning to measure milk. A townswoman showed her daughter to weigh wool, her scales steady in the market. A noblewoman read psalms to her children, her voice tracing holy words. These moments, small but steady, built knowledge over years. Women shared wisdom at wells or churchyards, trading tips on herbs or sewing. Their voices a gentle bond. Challenges limited learning. Parchment was rare, and scribes guarded their craft. Peasants had little time, their days filled with toil. Townswomen faced male-dominated trades, their roles often secondary. Noble women's education ended at marriage, shifting to manor duties. Yet women adapted, memorizing prayers, bartering for wax tablets, or listening to priests. A peasant mother taught her daughter to count eggs. A townswoman marked sums by rushlight. A lady studied hymns, their resilience a quiet force. Seasons shaped learning. Winter, with fields quiet, was for teaching weaving by the hearth, the snow muffling the world. Summer markets were for learning trade. Autumn for herb drying lessons. Festivals like Easter brought songs or prayers, taught by mothers to daughters. These cycles, tied to the river, made learning a rhythm as steady as breath. As the night grows still, picture the woman by her spindle, her daughter watching, the wools twirl soft. The market fades, the castle's candles dim. Her knowledge, quiet but vital, shapes her world. Let this image cradle you, guiding you into sleep as we prepare for the next part of our tale. The river flows gently through a medieval village, its waters a soft hum under a twilight sky. Inside a thatched hut, a woman counts her woven cloth, her hands steady as she prepares to settle a debt with a neighbor. In a bustling town square, another woman stands before a church court, her voice calm as she claims her share of a shop's earnings. In a stone castle's hall, a noblewoman seals a parchment with her ring, her orders binding tenants to her manor's fields. The law in the medieval world shaped women's lives, granting rights limited by custom but vital for their survival. In this seventh part, we explore how women, peasants, townswomen, and noble ladies navigated legal systems to protect their homes and futures in an era of knights and manors. Let the soothing rhythm of their stories guide you into a peaceful sleep. For peasant women, the law was rooted in village customs, enforced by elders or manor courts. Disputes over fields, sheep, or debts were settled under an oak tree, the village's center with neighbors watching. A woman might stand in the morning mist, her basket of rye in hand, explaining a neighbor's cow that trampled her garden. These hearings, guided by unwritten rules, aimed for fairness but often favored men or those with more land, records on parchment from villages like Devon show women like Agnes arguing for their crops, their voices steady in the soft light of dawn. Medieval law, shaped by the church and lords, gave peasant women some rights. They could inherit land if widowed, a small plot to farm for their children. A woman kept her dowry, wool, hens, or a pot, separate from her husband's goods, reclaiming it if he died or they parted. Divorce was rare, needing church approval, but a woman could seek support through manor courts, demanding grain or cloth from a neglectful husband. She paid taxes to the Lord, often in eggs or barley, bartering extra wool to meet demands. These rights, though modest, gave her leverage, her hands steady as she wove or plowed. Village courts were simple but binding. A woman might bring a case against a thief who stole her chickens, her plea heard by the manor's steward. She swore on a wooden cross. Her words weighed against the accused. Fines were common, paid in wool or labor, and justice was swift, sealed with a nod under the village tree. These laws, tied to the river's seasons, kept order, her faith in fairness a quiet strength. In medieval towns, the law was more formal, written on parchment by scribes. A townswoman, perhaps a brewer's wife, could sue for unpaid debts in a guild hall, her case heard by a mayor or priest. She sold ale or cloth in the market, her wooden scales balancing goods, and could claim her earnings in court. Church law let women own shops or tools, their names marked in town ledgers. Records from London show women like Marjorie running bakeries, their profits feeding families, their marks on wax tablets proving their trade. Townswomen faced trade rules set by guilds, often led by men. They joined as weavers or brewers, paying fees in pennies to sell goods. A woman negotiated prices, her voice firm in the market's hum, or shared stalls to cut costs. Courts were busy, with women claiming rights to looms or ale vats, their cases argued in stone halls. Widows thrived, inheriting shops and signing contracts, their independence a quiet power in the town's bustle. Noble women wielded law with authority. They inherited land or manors, called their dower when widowed, managing fields or vineyards. A lady like Eleanor of Aquitaine oversaw estates, her orders on parchment sealed with wax, collecting taxes in wine or wool. She acted as guardian for her sons, ruling until they came of age, her decisions binding tenants. Marriage contracts written in Latin protected her dowry, gold, furs, or land, ensuring her wealth if alone. Her power, though tied to family, was vast, her voice steady in castle halls. In royal courts, women shaped law itself. Noble ladies advised kings, their letters urging peace or land grants. They faced court rivalries, with rivals seeking their wealth or influence, but countered with clever alliances, their parchment sealed by candlelight. Records praise women like Matilda, who fought for her son's crown, her decrees etched in history. Their legal battles, though grand, were fought with calm resolve, their wisdom guiding kingdoms. Church law touched all women. Priests settled disputes over marriage or inheritance, their rulings final. Women appealed to saints, offering candles or bread for justice, their prayers whispered in chapels. Nuns managed convent lands, their decisions on vellum settling tenant quarrels. A woman might visit a shrine, her penny buying a priest's prayer, her hope tied to God's will. Laws varied by region. In England, manor courts gave women land rights, while in France, town guilds offered trade freedoms. Widows had more power, keeping dowries or shops, but remarriage brought pressure, especially for nobles. Taxes, called tithes, took grain or cloth, straining budgets. Yet women adapted, bartering or pleading in courts, their resilience a quiet force. Daily life met law in small ways. A peasant woman paid taxes with eggs, her basket weighed by a steward. A townswoman signed a shop lease, her mark on parchment. A noblewoman checked manor records, her seal binding orders. These acts, routine but vital, tied women to the medieval world's legal web. Challenges were many. Courts favored men or wealth, and scribes charged fees for petitions. Illiteracy forced women to rely on priests for writing, risking errors. Noble women faced plots, their lands coveted, yet they endured. A peasant woman bartered to pay a fine. A townswoman won her case with sharp words. A lady secured her manor with alliances. Their strength, though quiet, shone bright. Seasons shaped legal life. Autumn harvests brought tax disputes, settled in village courts. Spring markets saw women signing trade deals. Winter was for writing wills by firelight. Festivals like All Souls' Day paused disputes, with women sharing bread for peace. As the night settles, picture the woman by her cloth pile, her debt paid, her hands resting. The market grows quiet. The castle's lamps dim. Her rights, hard won, anchor her world. Let this image cradle you, guiding you into sleep as we prepare for the next part of our tale. The river flows gently through a medieval village, its waters a soft whisper under a starlit sky. Inside a thatched hut, a woman shares a wooden cup of ale with her neighbor, their laughter warm by the hearth's glow. In a bustling town market, another woman trades a loaf of rye bread with a weaver, their smiles bright under a cloth awning. In a stone castle's courtyard, a noblewoman gathers her companions to embroider a tapestry, their voices soft as they weave stories by candlelight. Community was the heart of the medieval world, binding women through shared work, faith, and moments of joy in an era of nights and fields. In this 8th part, we explore how women, peasants, townswomen, and noble ladies built networks of support to face life's trials. Let the soothing rhythm of their bonds cradle you into a peaceful sleep. In medieval villages, community was survival, woven into the river's seasons. Peasant women worked together, their lives tied to the land. During spring planting, they sowed barley or oats in fields, their hands moving in rhythm as they sang hymns to Saint Fiacre, patron of gardens. Harvests united them, gathering apples or shearing sheep, their baskets heavy by dusk. A woman might lend a sack of oats to a neighbor whose crop failed, knowing help would return in lean times. This quiet pact, sealed with a nod, kept families fed through famine or flood. The village well, a stone pit by the river, was a gathering place. Women met there at dawn, filling wooden buckets while trading news of births or storms. The communal oven, warmed by shared wood, baked their bread, its heat drawing talk of children or feasts. Sunday gatherings at the church, a stone building with a straw roof, brought them closer. They knelt, offering eggs or wool to St. Mary, their prayers for health or rain blending softly. These moments wove a web of trust, their voices a gentle hum under the stars. Older women were village pillars. A grandmother watched children while mothers worked fields, her tales of nights keeping them quiet. Healers, often widows, shared remedies, teaching younger women to mix lavender for sleep or bind wounds with linen. When disputes arose over a stray goat or a broken fence, women mediated, their words calming tempers over shared ale. Festivals like Michaelmas brought joy, with women baking honeyed bread and dancing to pipes, their steps light despite weary bodies. In medieval towns, community thrived in markets and alleys. Townswomen, selling cheese or cloth in the square, formed tight bonds. A baker traded loaves with a seamstress, their talk turning to prices or priests. These exchanges built trust in busy markets. Women joined religious guilds, like those of St. Catherine, pooling pennies to buy candles for the church or food for the poor. During Christmas, they marched in processions, carrying crosses or rose garlands, their voices singing hymns, their laughter echoing through cobbled streets. Townswomen supported each other in trade. A brewer shared her vat with a neighbor, teaching her to stir barley mash. Widows running stalls hired other women, passing on skills like dyeing wool or tallying coins. In weaving districts, women worked side by side, threading looms or polishing pewter, their chatter easing long hours. Parchment records from towns like Bristol show women forming partnerships, sharing wool or ale to fight taxes. These networks, built on shared work, helped them thrive in the town's hum. Noble women's communities were smaller but vital. In castles, they gathered with companions, sisters or friends, who embroidered, sang, or played lutes together. A lady like Eleanor of Aquitaine hosted feasts, her table laden with wine and venison, strengthening ties with vassals. During wars or plagues, she relied on these women to manage servants or send letters to allies, their loyalty forged in quiet moments by firelight. Her castle, with tapestried halls and herb gardens, was a haven for these bonds. Convents were unique communities. Nuns, often noble, lived in stone cloisters, their days filled with prayer. They tended herb gardens, mixing sage for the sick, or copied psalms onto vellum. Novices learned from older nuns, memorizing chants or tending altars. These women, bound by faith, shared meals of bread and fish in vaulted refectories, their voices soft in prayer. Some, like those in Hildegard's convent, gave alms to the poor, their work a bridge to the town. Community meant caregiving. Peasant women nursed neighbors, boiling yarrow for fevers or sharing bread during hunger. Townswomen gave wool to struggling weavers, their stalls a hub of kindness. Noble women funded church aid, providing grain or cloth for the needy. During plagues, women risked their lives to tend the sick, burning rosemary to cleanse air. These acts, rooted in faith and care, strengthened bonds but exposed women to danger, their courage a quiet sacrifice. Challenges tested these ties. In villages, disputes over land or water sparked tension, though women resolved them with shared meals. In towns, competition for customers strained friendships, but women bartered to keep peace. Noble women faced court rivalries, their allies sometimes swayed by gold, yet they rebuilt trust with gifts of silk or silver. Churches demanded offerings, stretching budgets, but women gave what they could, their faith uniting them. Seasons shaped community life. Spring planting brought village women to fields, their songs rising. Autumn harvests meant shared feasts under oak trees. Winter evenings saw women spinning wool together, their spindles clicking by firelight. In towns, summer markets buzzed with trade, while winter slowed, giving time for prayer guilds. Noble women hosted Christmas feasts, their castles glowing with candles and laughter. Resilience defined their bonds. Peasant women rebuilt after floods, sharing hoes to mend huts. Townswomen rallied after market fires, pooling pennies to restart stalls. Noble women sheltered allies during wars, their manors safe havens. Records from places like York praise women's shared strength, their names etched in community memory. As the night grows still, picture the woman by her neighbor's hearth, her ale shared, her laughter soft. The market fades, the castle's feast ends. These communities, woven from small acts, hold strong. Let their warmth wrap you, guiding you into sleep as we prepare for the next part of our tale. The river flows softly through a medieval village, its waters a gentle hum under a starlit sky. Inside a thatched hut, a widow stirs a pot of pottage over a clay hearth, her hands steady as she prepares a meal for her children. In a bustling town market, another widow arranges cheese on a wooden stall, her voice calm as she barters for pennies. In a stone castle's chamber, a noblewoman seals a parchment with her ring, her orders managing her late husband's lands. Widowhood in the medieval world brought grief but also freedom, allowing women to carve their own paths in an era of knights and manors. In this ninth part, we explore how widows, peasants, townswomen, and noble ladies faced their new lives with resilience and skill. Let the soothing rhythm of their independence cradle you into a peaceful sleep. For peasant women, widowhood was a heavy burden but a chance to lead. A husband's death, often from fever, field work, or war, left a woman to manage alone. She took up his wooden plow, guiding oxen through the river's muddy fields to sow barley. Her hut, once shared, was now hers, its straw mat and clay hearth her domain. She harvested turnips or sheared sheep, her basket heavy with wool to trade at market. Parchment records from villages like Norfolk show widows like Joan farming small plots, their labor feeding children or paying taxes in grain. Medieval law, shaped by the church, favored widows. A peasant woman inherited a portion of her husband's land, called her dower, to work until her sons grew or she remarried. She kept her dowry, cloth, hens, or a pot, separate, reclaiming it if needed. Taxes, paid in eggs or wool, were a struggle, but she bartered extra thread to meet them. Divorce was rare, but widowhood freed her from marriage's bonds, letting her choose solitude or a new husband. Her independence, though hard-won, was a quiet strength, her hands steady as she milked cows or wove by firelight. Village communities supported widows. Neighbors shared bread or ale when harvests failed, their hands passing wooden bowls over mud walls. Women met at the well, offering to watch a widow's children while she worked fields. Healers taught her to mix yarrow for cuts or mint for fevers, their wisdom easing her burdens. Many widows remarried for security, joining a new household, but some stayed alone, their huts small strongholds by the river's edge. In medieval towns, widowhood opened new doors. A craftsman's widow might inherit his shop, selling bread or ale in the market. She set up her stall at dawn, her scales weighing cheese or cloth, her voice calling traders in the square's hum. Church law let widows own property or tools, their names marked on parchment ledgers. Records from York show women like Alice running weaving shops, their profits raising families. A widow could sue for debts or sign contracts, her mark on wax tablets a sign of independence. Town widows faced challenges. Markets were competitive, with men undercutting prices, but widows adapted, joining guilds to share wool or vats. A brewer might trade ale with a baker, their alliance outlasting rivals. Some joined church guilds, offering candles to St. Catherine for support. Widows taught apprentices, passing skills like sewing or tallying coins, their knowledge a legacy in the town's bustle. Their resilience shone, their hands steady as they dyed cloth or counted pennies. Noble widows wielded great power. They inherited a third of their husband's estate. Lands, manors, or silver called their dower. A lady like Matilda managed vineyards or tenant farms, collecting taxes in wine or rye. She lived in a castle with tapestried halls, her servants spinning fine wool or tending herb gardens. Parchment records show women like Isabella ruling estates across counties, their seals binding orders. Yet remarriage loomed, as families sought her wealth for alliances. Some resisted, like Eleanor of Aquitaine, who governed for her sons, her authority carved in stone. In royal courts, widows held immense influence but faced perils. Noble ladies advised kings, their letters on parchment shaping laws. They navigated court plots, with rivals eyeing their lands or sons' claims. Some joined convents, dedicating silver to St. Mary, their vows shielding them from forced marriages. Their lives balanced power and danger, their wisdom guiding dynasties. Records praise women like Blanche, whose decrees shaped kingdoms, their names eternal. Convents offered widows' roles. Nuns, often noble, managed cloister lands, settling disputes or allocating grain for the poor. They lived in stone halls, their days filled with prayers or herb mixing. Some widows funded churches, their gifts of wool or pennies earning divine favor. These acts, blending faith and authority, gave purpose, their voices echoing in vespers by candlelight. Daily life for widows was duty and freedom. A peasant widow milked goats at dawn, her children trailing her to fields. A town widow opened her stall, weighing bread or ale, her ledger marked by rushlight. A noble widow oversaw servants, her parchment sealed in a firelit chamber. These tasks, once shared, were now hers, their rhythm a quiet strength. Challenges were real. Taxes drained widows' stores, forcing clever bartering. Town widows faced cheating traders, yet fought in courts. Noble widows navigated court schemes, their lands coveted. Convents demanded offerings, stretching resources, yet widows endured. A peasant woman replanted after floods. A townswoman rebuilt her stall after fire. A lady secured her son's future with alliances. Seasons shaped their lives. Spring planting kept peasant widows in fields. Autumn harvests filled their baskets. Winter was for weaving by firelight, teaching children. Festivals like Christmas united widows, their dances a moment of joy. These cycles, tied to the river, gave their days rhythm, their resilience steady. As the night deepens, picture the widow by her hearth, her pottage simmering, her hands resting. The market grows quiet, the castle still. Her independence, earned through toil, holds her world steady. Let this image cradle you, guiding you into sleep as we prepare for the next part of our tale. The river flows gently through a medieval village, its waters a soft whisper under a velvet sky. Inside a thatched hut, a woman ties a wooden cross to her child's wrist, her hands murmuring a prayer to Saint Christopher for protection. In a bustling town market, another woman offers a loaf of rye bread at a church altar, her eyes fixed on a statue of Saint Mary under torchlight. In a stone castle's chamber, a noblewoman gazes at a painted reliquary, her thoughts on the afterlife's shadows. Beliefs in the medieval world were woven with faith, magic, and tales of wonder, shaping women's lives with awe and hope. In this 10th part, we explore how women, peasants, townswomen, and noble ladies embraced the mysteries of their time, from saints to sacred relics. Let the soothing rhythm of their faith lull you into a peaceful sleep. For peasant women, mysteries were part of daily life. They saw God's hand everywhere. Christ in the harvest's bounty, Satan in storms, saints in the river's flow. Each morning, a woman prayed at a wooden cross in her hut, its surface worn smooth, offering a pinch of herbs or a crumb of bread to Saint Mary. Her whispers, soft as the hearth's crackle, sought safety for her children or fields. At night, she lit a rushlight, its glow casting shadows on the cross. her prayers a quiet shield against spirits or illness. The afterlife was a constant thought. Medieval belief held that souls faced heaven, purgatory, or hell, judged by God's will. Peasant women prepared simple burials, wrapping loved ones in wool for graves by the churchyard. They placed clay cups or bread in the earth, hoping to ease the soul's journey. Funerals were modest, with women chanting laments under starlight, their voices mourning yet hopeful. These rituals, taught by mothers, gave comfort, promising peace beyond death's veil. Village tales were rich with mysteries. By firelight, women spoke of knights slaying dragons or relics healing the sick. These stories, passed through generations, mixed fear and wonder, teaching children to honor saints. Magic was practical. A woman might bury a hazel twig in her field, believing it ensured a good harvest, or chant a prayer over a sick cow, her words learned from a healer. These acts, blending faith and folklore, soothed fears, their rhythm steady as the rivers flow. In medieval towns, beliefs were grander, centered on stone churches with stained glass. Townswomen visited the Church of St. Anne, its candles flickering to offer bread or a penny. They prayed for health or trade, their woolen cloaks brushing stone floors. Some served as lay sisters, lighting candles for vespers or sweeping altars, their hands steady in the incense-filled air. They wore charms, wooden crosses or saint medallions, tucked under tunics, believing they guarded against fevers or curses. Festivals brought mysteries to life. During All Souls' Day, townswomen walked to cemeteries, leaving rosemary or ale at graves, believing spirits lingered. These processions, with chants and soft bells, were solemn yet warm, uniting families under the stars. Women consulted wise women, paying a penny to read omens in ashes or clouds, guiding choices in marriage or trade. These answers, seen as divine, anchored their hopes in the market's hum. Noble women embraced faith with splendor. Their castles had private chapels, with silver crosses gleaming by candlelight. A lady offered wine or lavender to St. Mary, praying for her Lord's safe return. Some served as patrons, funding reliquaries, bone fragments of saints in gold boxes, believed to heal or bless. Their tombs, carved with angels, promised heaven. Their effigies kneeling in prayer. Women like Hildegard of Bingen wrote visions, their parchment scrolls blending faith and mystery, their words eternal. The afterlife loomed large for nobles. They commissioned prayers on vellum, chanted by monks to speed souls through purgatory. Servants placed bread or coins in their tombs, ensuring comfort beyond death. Some studied relics, like a saint's bone or cloth, believing they held power. Their chapels, glowing with candles, were places of hope, their prayers a quiet plea for eternity. Convents were hubs of mystical knowledge. Nuns guarded relics, like a lock of St. Clare's hair, their prayers believed to heal. They mixed potions with rose or myrrh, offering them during Mass. Some wrote chants, their voices echoing in stone cloisters, their work blending faith and wisdom. Townswomen sought their blessings, leaving wool or eggs for prayers, their faith a bridge to the divine. Beliefs shaped daily life. A peasant woman tied a charm at dawn, her prayer soft. A townswoman paused at a church, her bread offering sincere. A noblewoman read a psalm in her chapel, her voice tracing holy words. Festivals like Christmas saw women exchange candles, their joy a fleeting escape from toil. These acts, small but sacred, wove faith into their days. Challenges tested belief. Plagues seemed like God's wrath, pushing women to offer more at altars, straining their stores. Churches demanded tithes, leaving peasants with less bread. Heretical groups, like the Lollards, drew suspicion, yet some women joined, seeking truth. Faith endured. A peasant woman prayed through famine. A townswoman offered rosemary during illness. A lady built a chapel for her family's soul. Seasons shaped worship. Spring planting brought prayers for Saint Fiacre. Autumn harvests offered bread. Winter evenings were for hearth prayers. Summer festivals for dances to saints. These cycles, tied to the river, made faith a rhythm as steady as breath. As the night settles, picture the woman by her cross, her charm tied, her prayer fading, the church's candles dim. The castle's chapel grows still. Her beliefs, quiet but deep, hold her world steady. Let this image cradle you, guiding you into sleep as we prepare for the next part of our tale. The river flows gently through a medieval village, its waters a soft murmur under a starlit sky. Inside a thatched hut, a woman stirs pottage over a clay hearth, her hands steady despite a barren harvest. In a bustling town market, another woman rebuilds her stall with borrowed wood, her voice calm as she barters after a fire. In a stone castle's chamber, a noblewoman writes a letter to secure her manor, her quill moving with purpose by candlelight. Resilience was the quiet strength of medieval women who faced famine, plague, and loss with courage and skill in an era of nights and fields. In this 11th part, we explore how women, peasants, townswomen, and noble ladies endured hardships, their resolve shaping their world. Let the soothing rhythm of their perseverance lull you into a peaceful sleep. For peasant women, resilience was a daily necessity. Their lives were harsh. Famines dried fields. Fevers took children, and taxes drained their stores. A woman woke to find her barley withered, yet she gleaned wild herbs, mixing them into broth to feed her kin. The Black Death, sweeping villages in 1348, left empty huts, but women nursed the sick, boiling mint or binding wounds with wool. Their hands, rough from plowing or spinning, worked through grief, their strength born of love for their families. Loss was a constant shadow. A husband's death from illness or war left a widow to farm alone, her wooden hoe heavy in the river's mud. She harvested turnips with her children, their baskets light but enough to barter at market. Parchment records from villages like Kent show women like Emma rebuilding after floods, trading wool for reeds to mend roofs. When wars disrupted fields, women hid grain in clay pots or fled with their young, returning to sow again. Their resilience was quiet, rooted in the river's steady flow. Community fueled their endurance. Neighbors shared ale or bread when a widow's stores ran low, their hands passing bowls over mud walls. Women gathered at the well, trading tips on salves or sewing, their chatter easing sorrow. Older women, wise from years of toil, taught younger ones to dry peas or mend nets, their knowledge a lifeline. Festivals like Easter offered relief, with women dancing under starlight, their laughter a brief escape from hardship. In medieval towns, resilience shone in trade and survival. A townswoman, perhaps a baker, lost her shop to fire, yet rebuilt with shared timber, her loaves baking again by dawn. Plagues swept streets, but women kept selling cloth or ale, their hands steady despite fear. Records from London show women like Marjorie running stalls after loss, their profits feeding kin. Markets were competitive, with men undercutting prices, but women adapted, bartering or suing for debts in church courts, their voices firm in stone halls. Townswomen faced economic strain. Taxes took pennies, and cheating traders tested their wits. Yet they fought back, joining guilds to share wool or vats. A weaver allied with a brewer, their trade stronger together. When floods ruined stalls, women hauled mud to rebuild, their voices rising in the market's hum. Their resilience was in their adaptability, learned through years of navigating crowded streets. Noble women showed strength in power and duty. Court life was perilous, with rivals plotting for land or favor. A widow like Matilda managed estates during wars, her orders on parchment arming guards or rationing wine. She faced schemes, her wealth coveted, but countered with alliances, her letters sealed by candlelight. Records praise women like Eleanor of Aquitaine, who ruled for their sons, their decisions etched in history. Their strength lay in strategy, their minds sharp as they balanced power. Childbirth tested all women. Peasant mothers bore children on straw mats, returning to fields soon after, their bodies aching. Townswomen worked through pregnancies, stirring vats while nursing infants. Noble women, with better care, still risked death in labor, their midwives praying to Saint Margaret. Loss was common. Many children died young, but women carried on, raising survivors with fierce care. A mother's grief was private. Her strength shone in her steady hands as she wove or baked. Faith was a pillar of resilience. Peasant women prayed to Saint Mary during famines, their wooden crosses clutched tightly. Townswomen offered candles at churches, seeking strength through plagues. Noble women funded monasteries, their silver ensuring divine favor. Convents, like those of Hildegard of Bingen, were refuges where women found solace in chants or relics. Their faith, whispered in chapels or huts, was a steady light in dark times. Seasons shaped their endurance. Summer heat brought fevers, forcing women to boil herbs. Autumn harvests rewarded toil, their baskets filled by weary hands. Winter hunger pushed women to ration oats, their pottage stretched with leeks. Spring festivals, like May Day, lifted spirits, with women dancing with ribbons, their laughter defying hardship. These cycles, tied to the river, taught them to adapt, their resilience as constant as its flow. Challenges were relentless. Floods ruined crops, plagues emptied towns, and court plots threatened noble women's lands. Taxes drained resources, forcing bartering or loans. Yet women endured. A peasant woman saved seeds through famine. A townswoman rebuilt after loss, her stall thriving. A noble woman outsmarted rivals, her son's future safe. Some, like Matilda, left legacies in stone, their strength carved for eternity. Daily life held small victories. A peasant woman shared ale with neighbors, her smile bright despite hunger. A townswoman counted pennies, her ledger balanced after a hard day. A noble woman played a lute with her children, her notes easing court stress. These moments, fleeting but warm, fueled their resolve, their bonds a quiet strength. As the night grows still, picture the woman by her hearth, her pottage simmering, her hands resting. The market's hum fades, the castle's lamps dim. Her resilience, steady and unspoken, holds her world together. Let this image cradle you, guiding you into sleep as we prepare for the final. Part of our tale, the river flows gently through a medieval village, its waters a soft whisper under a crescent moon. Inside a thatched hut, a woman scratches her name on a wooden tally stick, her fingers tracing a mark for her children to remember. In a bustling town market, another woman paints a rose on a church wall, her brush steady as she honors the dead. In a stone castle's chamber, a noble woman oversees a tapestry's weaving, her image destined to hang eternal in a chapel's glow. In the medieval world, women's legacies were woven into their daily lives through work, faith, and love, leaving traces that time could not erase. In this 12th and final part, we reflect on how women, peasants, townswomen, and noble ladies crafted memories that endured in stories, cloth, and stone. Let the soothing rhythm of their legacies cradle you into a peaceful sleep. For peasant women, legacy was humble but enduring. Their lives were etched in the tasks that sustained their families. A mother taught her daughter to knead rye dough, her hands guiding the clay oven's heat, passing the rhythm of survival. She spun wool by firelight, her spindles twirl teaching patience, the cloth traded to feed her kin. These skills, shared without words, ensured her children could face the river's seasons. Her name might not be carved in stone, but her recipes for pottage or remedies for fevers lived on in her daughters' hands, their fingers steady as they stirred or wove. Peasant women left traces in their villages. A healer, mixing mint for coughs, shared her cures at the well, her wisdom remembered by neighbors. When she died, her wooden cross or clay charm was buried with her, tokens of her faith. Funerals were simple, with women chanting laments by the churchyard, their voices weaving her memory into village tales. Some left small gifts, a woven shawl or a bone needle, to daughters, who wore or used them, keeping her spirit close. These acts, modest but warm, tied families to the land. Storytelling was a peasant woman's legacy. By the hearth, she told tales of knights, saints, or dragons, her words shaping her children's dreams. These stories of faith or harvests carried her values, duty, resilience, piety, through time. Grandmother's tale of surviving a famine taught her grandchildren to store grain. Her legacy was oral, her voice a thread in the village's history, remembered as children retold the tales under starlight. In medieval towns, legacies were more visible. A baker's wife taught her apprentices to shape loaves, her recipe known for its crisp crust. Her stall, shaded by a cloth awning, was a hub where women traded goods and stories, her name tied to the bread she sold. Some townswomen left wills on parchment, dividing their goods, pots, wool, or pennies, among their children. Church records from places like York show women like Agnes ensuring daughters inherited equally, their marks on wax tablets a sign of care. Townswomen left marks through craft. A weaver dyed cloth with madder, her red patterns copied by others, her skill a quiet legacy. Some joined church guilds, offering bread to St. Anne, their charity remembered by the poor. During All Souls' Day, they walked to cemeteries, leaving rosemary or ale, their axe tying them to eternity. Their names, scratched on wooden tallies or church rolls, lived in market ledgers, proof of their place in the town's hum. Noble women's legacies were grand, woven in silk and stone. A lady funded chapels, her name carved on the altar of St. Mary beside sacred images. She commissioned tapestries, her likeness in wool standing in a castle hall or church chancel. Her tomb, carved with roses or angels, told her story, her piety, her wealth, her children. Women like Eleanor of Aquitaine built monasteries, their walls glowing with murals, their memory eternal in stone and prayer. Noble women left legacies through power. As regents, like Matilda for her son Henry, they shaped laws, their decrees on parchment guiding kingdoms. They managed estates, their decisions, allocating grain or settling disputes, recorded by scribes. Some, as nuns, wrote hymns or visions, their words on vellum sung for centuries. Their wealth funded bridges or churches like those in Paris. their names tied to the medieval world's glory. Royal women's legacies were timeless. Ladies like Blanche advised kings, their letters shaping treaties. Their tombs, filled with silver or prayers, were sealed against time, though many were looted. Their images, woven in tapestries or carved in stone, showed them as saints, their power divine. Even in death they influenced, their sons ruling with their wisdom. Inscriptions praise women like Isabella, their strength a beacon for generations. Convents preserved women's memories. Nuns recorded their deeds on vellum, their offerings to St. Clare ensuring favor. They taught novices, passing chants or herb lore, their knowledge a living legacy. Some funded aid for the poor, their gifts of wool or bread easing hunger. These acts, blending faith and charity, tied their names to sacred spaces, their voices echoing in hymns long after they were gone. Daily life was a canvas for legacy. A peasant woman baked bread, her recipe taught to her daughter. A townswoman marked her stall's goods, her tallies kept by apprentices. A noblewoman read psalms, her children learning her words. These small acts, repeated daily, built a chain of memory, linking mothers to daughters across years. Festivals like Christmas saw women leave candles or songs, their joy a gift to the future. Challenges tested their legacy. Tomb robbers stole treasures, erasing noble women's marks. Village fires burned huts, leaving only tales. Illiteracy meant many deeds went unrecorded, fading into oral history. Yet resilience shone. A peasant woman rebuilt her granary, her children fed. A townswoman trained others, her craft enduring. A noblewoman's tapestry hung, her name defying time. Seasons shaped their memory. Autumn harvests saw women store rye, their care ensuring survival. Winter evenings were for tales, spring festivals for dances that lingered in memory. The river's rhythm carried their lives forward, their legacies as steady as its flow. Reflecting on their lives, we see enduring lessons. Peasant women taught survival. Townswomen showed adaptability. Noble women proved wisdom. Their bonds, sharing ale, praying together, teaching daughters, held communities strong. Their faith in God or family gave hope. Their legacies, in stories or stone, remind us of resilience, a light in the medieval world's shadows. As the river reflects the stars, picture the woman by her tally stick, her name scratched, her hands resting. The market grows silent, the castle's lamps dim. Her life, woven with love and toil, echoes through time. Thank you for joining Mindleapic on this journey through medieval nights. If these tales soothed you, please like, subscribe, and comment with the eras you'd love to explore next. Good night, and may the whispers of nights and manners guide your dreams.